The warning signal. Captain Maya Torres stood at the viewport of the scout ship Horizon, watching the unfamiliar star system materialize as they exited the jump point. At just 35, she was young for a captain, but her sharp instincts and adaptability had earned her command of Earth's most advanced reconnaissance vessel. Passive scans only. Lieutenant Zhao, Maya ordered, her dark eyes fixed on the golden star and its orbiting planets. We're here to observe, not announce ourselves. Understood, Captain. Passive systems running. Zhao's fingers danced across his console, picking up standard radiation patterns, nothing unusual about the star itself. The Horizon was officially on a routine survey mission in this unexplored sector. Unofficially, they were pushing the boundaries of the region that the Galactic Concord had designated as human territory. The alien civilizations that dominated galactic politics had been clear. Humanity was to remain contained within specific borders, deemed too unpredictable and potentially dangerous to roam freely. Captain, I'm detecting an unusual signal. Communications Officer Reyes reported suddenly, her brow furrowed. It's faint but structured. Definitely artificial. Maya moved to the communications station. Source. The fourth planet. Sir, it's... Wait, this can't be right. Reyes adjusted her settings. It's using a frequency very similar to our old SOS emergency protocols, almost as if someone copied them. Let me hear it, Maya ordered. A rhythmic pattern of pulses filled the bridge, instantly recognizable to any human as a distress call. But humanity hadn't shared this protocol with any known species. Full sensor sweep, active systems online. Maya commanded, protocol forgotten. If someone's using an Earth distress signal, they're either human or they've had contact with humans. The planet came into focus on their screens, a beautiful blue-green world with vast oceans and scattered archipelagos, and in orbit around it, destruction. Multiple debris fields in orbit. Tactical Officer Dawson reported grimly, consistent with recently destroyed vessels. And there's something else. Larger ships, unknown configuration. 12 of them, in attack formation around the planet. The signal's coming from the surface, Reyes added. Strongest point is here, on this island chain. Maya made her decision. Stealth systems to maximum. Take us in closer, but keep us in the planet's shadow. I want a better look at those ships. As the Horizon slipped silently toward the embattled world, the crew worked frantically to gather data. The attackers' vessels were massive angular constructions of dark metal, bristling with what were clearly weapon emplacements. Thermal and radiation readings suggest they're bombarding the surface. Science Officer Nkosa reported, his voice tight. Precision strikes, not planetary destruction. They're targeting population centers. Captain, Reyes called out, her voice suddenly urgent. The signal changed. It's a voice transmission now. Should I put it through? Maya nodded, and a strange melodic voice filled the bridge, speaking in halting, accented English. To any human vessel, this is Elder Thalassa of the Sylphian Convergence. We intercepted your exploration signals years ago. Learned your languages. Hope to meet you in peace. The Kryvax Dominion found us first. They hunt us. Your species, classified as Dithworlders, perhaps our only hope. If you receive this, please help. Silence fell across the bridge. The term Deathworlder was familiar. It was how the Galactic Concord classified species that evolved on planets with extreme conditions. Humans, with their remarkable adaptability and resilience, earned the designation due to Earth's high gravity, variable climate, and abundance of predators and natural disasters. Most species saw it as a reason to fear humans. This Elder Thalassa saw it as a reason to hope. Prepare the shuttle, Maya decided. I'm going down to the surface. Her executive officer, Commander Rivera, stepped forward. Captain, regulations explicitly forbid first contact without authorization, especially in a conflict zone. Someone already made first contact with these Sylphians, Maya countered, and they're being slaughtered while using our distress protocols to call for help. I'd say that changes things. 4 hours later, Maya stood on the shore of a hidden cove, facing the most beautiful aliens she had ever seen. The Sylphians were tall, slender beings with iridescent blue-green skin that seemed to shimmer with its own inner light. Gills lined their elegant necks, and their large, expressive eyes reflected both intelligence and terror. "We thought you might not come," Elder Thalassa said, her webbed hands clasped in what Maya recognized as a gesture of gratitude. "The Kryvax have hunted us for 3 cycles. Our technology was no match for theirs. Why did they attack you?" Maya asked. Maya looked around at the hidden Sylphian encampment, the last survivors of what had clearly been an advanced civilization. Their buildings were elegant structures of coral-like material and a crystalline substance that captured and refracted light. Now most lay in ruins. "How did you learn our emergency signals?" she asked. Thalassa led Maya to a small structure. Inside was equipment Maya recognized immediately as a deep space monitoring array. "We study the stars. We intercepted transmissions from your exploration vessels. Learned your languages. We hoped to contact you peacefully, but the Concord forbids direct communication with Deathworlders. And yet you're calling for us now." "The Kryvax fear nothing because they have never encountered a species that could truly challenge them," Thalassa explained. "But we've studied your kind, your adaptability, your resilience, the very traits that make the Concord fear you, make us potentially dangerous to these Kryvax," Maya finished. "One human scout ship can't save us," Thalassa acknowledged sadly. "But perhaps your people." Maya made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. "Elder Thalassa, I need to send a message to my command. Will you share everything you know about the Kryvax? Their capabilities, weaknesses, patterns?" "Of course. But the Concord will punish your people for interfering." Maya's smile was grim. "The Concord has underestimated humans from the beginning. They've contained us because we've allowed it, not because they could force it." Back aboard the Horizon, Maya recorded her message to Earth Fleet Command, knowing she was likely ending her career, but unable to turn away from the genocide unfolding below. "Admiral Chen, this is Captain Torres of the Horizon. I've encountered a species called the Sylphians being systematically exterminated by another race known as the Kryvax Dominion. I'm attaching all data we've gathered on both species. The Sylphians intercepted our distress protocols and used them to call for help. They specifically reached out to humans because we're Deathworlders." She paused, then continued with firm resolve. "I'm requesting immediate intervention. The Horizon will remain in system to gather intelligence and provide what assistance we can. These Kryvax are predators targeting peaceful species, and they've never encountered humanity. I believe it's time they learned why the galaxy classifies us as dangerous." As the encrypted transmission sped toward Earth, Maya watched the Kryvax ships continuing their methodical destruction of Sylphian civilization. She didn't know if her message would bring help or court-martial, but she knew she couldn't stand by and watch extinction unfold. The Horizon might be just one ship, but its crew were children of a Deathworld, and they were about to show these self-proclaimed predators what that truly meant. Deathworlders unleashed. Admiral Lucia Chen stared at the holographic display floating above the conference table, her weathered face illuminated by the blue light of a distant star system. Captain Torres' report from the Horizon played for the 3rd time, the young captain's voice resonating with controlled urgency. "She's exceeded her authority," General Harrison grumbled from across the table. "The Concord restrictions are clear. No interference in conflicts between non-human species." "The Concord restrictions are a leash," Chen replied evenly. "One we've worn voluntarily because it served our purposes." She gestured to the holographic images of the Kryvax ships bombarding the Sylphian homeworld. "This changes things." The emergency council meeting had been convened within hours of receiving the Horizon's transmission. 12 of Earth's highest military and governmental leaders sat around the table, faces grave as they considered the implications. "The Sylphians specifically called for human help," pointed out Dr. Okafor, the council's xenobiologist. "They've studied us enough to know what we're capable of." President Alvarez, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. What exactly are the Krevak's capabilities, Admiral? Can we intervene effectively? Chen nodded to her aide, who brought up new displays showing detailed analysis of the Krevak's vessels. Based on the horizon scans and the Sylphian intelligence, the Krevaks have significant technological advantages over the species they typically target. Energy weapons, faster-than-light capabilities, strong defensive systems. However, she paused meaningfully. Their technology appears to be optimized for intimidation of pre-spaceflight or early spaceflight civilizations. They've never faced a species with comparable technology or comparable biology, added Dr. Okafor. The Krevaks evolved on a low-gravity moon with minimal environmental challenges. Physically, they're adapted for precision and intelligence, not strength or endurance. You're suggesting we have advantages beyond technology, President Alvarez observed. I'm stating it explicitly, Chen confirmed. The average human soldier can operate effectively in gravity and environmental conditions that would cripple a Krevaks. Our reflexes are faster, our bodies more durable. We're literally built differently. General Harrison leaned forward. If we do this, we reveal capabilities we've kept hidden for decades. The Concorde thinks our fleet consists of a handful of exploration vessels and defensive platforms. Perhaps it's time they learned otherwise, Chen said quietly. The president's eyes locked with Chen's. You're recommending deployment of the Spectre fleet. A hush fell over the room. The Spectre fleet was humanity's best-kept secret, a shadow armada built in violation of Concorde restrictions, hidden in the far reaches of the solar system and beyond. Advanced warships designed not just with human technology, but incorporating and improving upon designs glimpsed from other spacefaring races. Chen confirmed. Battle Group Artemis can reach the Sylphian system in 48 hours at maximum jump capacity. The Krevaks won't be expecting resistance, certainly not from a direction outside their conflict zone. President Alvarez was silent for a long moment. The political consequences will be severe. The Concorde will view this as confirmation of their worst fears about humans. With respect, Madam President, Chen replied, their fears about us have never been based on our actions, but on their perceptions of what evolution on Earth means. Perhaps it's time we showed them what it actually means to be a Deathworlder. 6 hours later, deep in the shadows of Saturn's rings, a fleet of ships unlike any that had been publicly acknowledged began to move. Sleek, predatory vessels with matte black hulls that absorbed rather than reflected light, they formed up in precise formation and accelerated toward the jump point. Aboard the flagship Artemis, Admiral Chen addressed the assembled officers in the main briefing room. Our mission is straightforward. Stop the genocide of the Sylphian people and neutralize the Krevaks threat. This operation has been authorized at the highest level, but make no mistake, we are crossing a line from which there is no return. Once the galaxy knows what we're truly capable of, everything changes. She brought up a tactical display showing the Sylphian system. Captain Torres and the Horizon have provided us with detailed intelligence. The Krevaks have established orbital superiority and are conducting systematic strikes against Sylphian population centers. They believe themselves unopposed. Commander Okonkwo, the fleet's tactical officer, stepped forward. Our jump will bring us in behind the larger of the system's 2 moons, concealing our arrival. From there, we'll deploy in a standard wolf pack formation. The Krevak ships are powerful but slow to maneuver. Our advantage is speed, coordination, and surprise. What about the Horizon? Someone asked. Captain Torres has maintained stealth operations and continued gathering intelligence, Chen answered. She will coordinate with us upon our arrival and assist with evacuating Sylphian survivors if necessary. 2 days later, Battle Group Artemis emerged from jump space exactly as planned, hidden behind the cratered surface of the Sylphian moon. 12 warships, each crewed by humans who had trained for years for a conflict they were never supposed to engage in. All ships report ready, Admiral, Commander Okonkwo announced as the fleet moved into attack position. The Kravax remain unaware of our presence. Signal the horizon, Chen ordered. Execute Operation Thunderbolt. The human fleet accelerated suddenly, emerging from the moon's shadow like arrows from a bow. On the Kravax command ship, alarms blared as unknown vessels appeared on their sensors, moving at velocities their systems struggled to track. Multiple unidentified vessels approaching at high speed, reported the Kravax sensor operator, his exoskeleton clicking nervously. Configuration unknown. Supreme Commander Vexkar turned his compound eyes toward the display. Origin, he demanded. They appeared from behind the moon. Technology signature is impossible. The operator's voice rose in alarm. These are not Concord vessels. Before Vexkar could respond, the human ships opened fire. Precisely targeted energy beams sliced through the shields of the nearest Kravax vessel, disabling its propulsion systems without destroying the ship. Two more Kravax cruisers found themselves suddenly surrounded, human vessels executing maneuvers at G-forces that would have killed any Kravax pilot. Demand identification. Vexkar ordered, mandibles clicking in agitation. A moment later, a transmission cut through their communications network. Admiral Chen's face appeared on the Kravax view screen, her expression calm but resolute. This is Admiral Lucia Chen of the Earth Defense Fleet. You are engaged in the unauthorized extermination of the Sylphian people. Cease all hostilities immediately and withdraw from this system, or we will remove you by force. Vexkar's compound eyes widened in shock. Humans. Impossible. The Concord restricts your kind to your designated sectors. As you can see, Shen replied coldly, we no longer recognize those restrictions. Your actions against a peaceful species have triggered our intervention. You have one planetary rotation to withdraw. The transmission cut off, leaving the Kravax commander staring at his officers in disbelief. Humans, he chittered. Deathworlders. When the Kravax refused to withdraw and instead attempted to regroup their forces, the true nature of humanity's capabilities was revealed. The Earth ships moved with an agility that seemed to defy physics, their crews withstanding acceleration forces that would have rendered Kravax unconscious. Human targeting systems predicted and countered Kravax evasive maneuvers with uncanny precision. And when a desperate Kravax cruiser managed to damage one of the smaller human vessels, the humans demonstrated something the Kravax had never encountered: the ability to continue fighting effectively despite catastrophic damage. Even as atmosphere vented from breached sections, human crew members sealed off compartments, rerouted systems, and maintained combat efficiency. On the planet below, Sylphian survivors watched in awe as their tormentor ships were systematically disabled or destroyed. Captain Torres, who had maintained contact with Elder Thalassa throughout the battle, finally delivered the news they had been waiting for. The Kravax fleet has surrendered, she reported. 3 ships destroyed, 9 disabled and boarded. Admiral Chen extends her greetings to the Sylphian people and promises that no more harm will come to your world. Elder Thalassa's luminescent skin pulsed with emotion. We knew Deathworlders would be different, she said softly. But we never imagined this. Torres smiled grimly. This is what it means to evolve on a world that tries to kill you every day. You learn not just to survive, but to protect those who cannot protect themselves. As human medical and engineering teams descended to the planet's surface to assist the Sylphians, news of the battle was already spreading through subspace communications networks. Throughout the galaxy, species who had accepted the Concord's assessment of humans as dangerous but contained primitives were suddenly faced with a new reality. The Deathworlders had broken their chains, and the galaxy would never be the same. A new galactic order. Supreme Commander Vexkar of the Kravax Dominion had never experienced humiliation until now. Standing in the conference room of the human flagship Artemis, his exoskeleton feeling unusually heavy under the ship's Earth-standard gravity, he faced not just Admiral Chen, but representatives from 7 species his forces had previously subjugated. The terms are non-negotiable, Admiral Chen stated, her voice calm but leaving no room for discussion. The Kryvax Dominion will withdraw from all occupied territories, pay reparations for damages inflicted, and submit to monitoring of your military activities for the next 20 standard years. This is unprecedented. Vexkar chittered, his translator converting the sounds to flat English. The Dominion has stood for 5 centuries. We answer to no one. You answer for genocide, countered Elder Thalassa, her voice carrying the harmonic undertones of Sylphian grief. For the millions of my people who died while you systematically destroyed our civilization. Vexkar's compound eyes swiveled toward the Sylphian elder, then back to the human admiral. And if we refuse these terms? Admiral Chen's expression didn't change, but something in her eyes made Vexkar's antennae twitch involuntarily. Then we will ensure the Kryvax Dominion no longer exists as a political entity. Your technology will be distributed among your victims, your military capabilities permanently disabled, and your leadership held accountable for crimes against sentient beings. It wasn't an idle threat. In the 3 weeks since the human fleet had intervened at the Sylphian homeworld, reports had reached Vexkar of human vessels appearing at other worlds the Dominion had conquered. Fast, lethal ships that seemed to materialize from nowhere, liberating subjugated planets before disappearing again. The humans had mapped the entire Dominion while the Kryvax were still trying to understand what they were facing. How? Vexkar finally asked, mandibles clicking in agitation. How did you build such a fleet without the Concord knowing? How do your pilots withstand maneuvers that would kill any rational species? For the first time, Chen allowed herself a small smile. You and the Concord made the same mistake. You assumed that being restricted to certain sectors meant we were contained, that being classified as dangerous meant we were primitive. She gestured to the tactical display showing the positions of human vessels throughout what had once been uncontested Kryvax territory. We built our real fleet in secret because we knew someday we would need it. As for our physical capabilities, that's simply what happens when you evolve on a death world. Adaptation becomes part of who you are. 4 days later, in a ceremony broadcast across thousands of worlds, representatives from 27 species gathered on the newly renamed Unity Station, formerly a Kryvax military outpost. The massive space station had been repurposed as neutral territory for what was being called the post-Concord dialogues. President Alvarez, who had traveled from Earth for the occasion, stood before the assembled delegates. Behind her stood Admiral Chen and Captain Torres, both now hailed as heroes throughout the former Kryvax territories. For too long, humanity accepted restrictions based on fear rather than understanding. Alvarez began. We stayed within our assigned borders not because we agreed with them, but because we believed peaceful coexistence was worth the sacrifice of freedom. She gestured to the Sylphian and other representatives of species the humans had liberated. But when we received a call for help, when we witnessed the systematic destruction of peaceful civilizations, we could no longer stand aside. That is not who we are. That is not what being the Death Worlder means. Murmurs rippled through the assembly as translation devices conveyed her words in dozens of languages. Many delegates shifted uncomfortably, particularly those from the Galactic Concord, who had long advocated for human containment. Humanity did not evolve on a harsh world because we are violent by nature, Alvarez continued. We evolved to overcome challenges, to adapt, to protect ourselves and those who cannot protect themselves. Yes, our world made us physically stronger than many species. It gave us endurance and resilience some find frightening. But it also taught us the value of cooperation, of standing together against threats too big for any individual. Elder Thalassa glided forward to stand beside Alvarez. My people called upon humans because we recognize what the Concord had not. That strength can be used to protect as well as to harm. That adaptability is not a threat, but a gift when guided by compassion. The Sylphian's luminescent skin pulsed with emotion as she addressed the gathering. We propose a new alliance, not one based on fear of difference, but on celebration of it. Not one that contains and restricts, but one that protects and uplifts. What followed was unprecedented in galactic politics: the formation of the Sentinel Accord, a mutual defense pact initially signed by humans and 17 previously vulnerable species. Under its terms, human military vessels would patrol the territories of signatory worlds, providing protection against aggressors while helping develop defensive capabilities suited to each species' unique evolutionary traits. In return, these worlds would share knowledge, resources, and cultural exchange with humanity and each other. The fear of difference that had dominated galactic politics for centuries began to give way to appreciation for diversity. Not everyone welcomed the new order. The Concord officially condemned humanity's military expansion and violation of established boundaries. Several powerful species that had benefited from the old system withdrew into isolation, warning of the dangers of allowing Deathworlders free rein in the galaxy. But for many, particularly the smaller, more vulnerable civilizations that had lived in fear of the next predatory empire, the emergence of humanity as a protective force represented hope. 6 months after the Battle of Sylphia, Captain Maya Torres stood on the observation deck of the newly commissioned exploration vessel Emissary. The ship was larger than the Horizon, designed not just for reconnaissance, but for diplomatic missions, cultural exchange, and, if necessary, defense. "Beautiful, isn't she?" Admiral Chen said, joining Torres at the viewport. "She is," Torres agreed, watching as shuttles ferried supplies and personnel to the sleek vessel. "I still can't believe you're giving her to me." Chen smiled. "Who better to command our first joint human-alien crew than the captain who started it all? Half your senior officers will be Sylphian, with representatives from 5 other Accord species filling specialist roles." Torres looked thoughtful. "Did you ever imagine it would turn out like this? When you launched the Spectre fleet, I mean." "No," Chen admitted. "I thought we were starting a war. Instead, we're building something I never thought possible." Below them, a group of Sylphian engineers worked alongside humans, their bioluminescent skin creating patterns of light as they communicated in their native manner while learning human engineering techniques. Nearby, a massive Dracon security officer, a species once considered too physically intimidating for diplomatic missions, was gently helping a tiny Melosian navigator adjust to the ship's artificial gravity. "We're still Deathworlders," Torres observed. "That hasn't changed." "No," Chen agreed. "But the galaxy's understanding of what that means has. Evolution on a challenging world didn't just make us strong, it made us protectors. And that's what the galaxy needed most." As the sun set on this chapter of human expansion into the stars, one thing had become clear to species throughout the galaxy. The term Deathworlder was no longer a classification to fear, but a promise of protection. For in a universe filled with threats both known and unknown, having allies who had mastered survival against all odds was not a danger, it was salvation. And the SOS signal that had started it all had become a new kind of beacon, not just a call for help, but a reminder that sometimes the most dangerous species are the ones most worth knowing.